Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 44th episode of the Wi-Fi Chats. I am joined with my fellow conversationalists, Alec Wells, Gabby Checklock, and Brett Corcoran. We're here today. Today's topic is, what is the difference between the idea of serving others or helping them, right? This topic came up for me. I'm part of a grief educator alumni circle thing, and we were refreshing a course, and we were talking about this concept of being in service to people or helping them, and what, if anything, is the difference. So I thought it would be an interesting topic for us to talk about, since we are all collectively in the field of wanting to help others, right? So I will just put my little take in here that for me, the difference is when I think about helping others, it gives me the vibe of I'm taking the stance that somebody needs to be fixed. It's not for me to there's nothing wrong with you. I don't need to help you do anything. You have everything you need within you to heal or do whatever it is, get to wherever you need to go. So for me, I shift into being of service to people because it puts me in a much more open-hearted space. If I just say to myself, I am here to serve you. So that means you tell me what you need and I will witness it for you. If I'm trying to help you, that means I know better. That's the vibe that I get. So that to me is what the difference is. But I'm interested to know all of my fellow friends here who are in the helping field, if anything, the difference is for you.
For me, the two words actually live in two different worlds. Helping for me lives in the physical world. I need to move a table from the living room to the kitchen, and I get my neighbor to help me carry it. So helping for me is I help you with something physical, right? I built my chest of drawer up. Somebody is helping me by holding the pieces in place while I screw it, right? That's helping for me. And I'm with you there, Erika. Serving for me lives in the other world, the mental world. And for me, it came again when I was going through breast cancer, and I talked about it in another episode. This is where the difference for me came about, because I had an awful lot of people who are trying to help me, and then they fell into advice giving, and they gave me their advice what they would do if they would be in the situation. But because I'm different from them, it was either not helping or at the best, or it was actually annoying, right? So surfing was when people just, for example, sat back and just listened to me rather than trying to give me advice. So it was very, very different. So that's for me the difference. Helping lives in the physical world where I can actually put my hands to it and help them, right? But in the other world, it's serving. So my friends served me by sitting down, giving me half an hour and just listen to me when I had to talk something through, for example. They served me to help to get my thoughts into the right order, for example. Help me self. They were not helping me, but they were serving me with their presence and maybe with some few nice questions for me to be able to self-regulate. And that's for me the difference.
And my comment will be very much in line with that. It's about empowerment. Helping somebody, that to me puts things in a kind of rescuer, victim drama triangle setting, whereas being in service to somebody, like Gabby's friend, you're then thinking about a catalyst and a coach, and you being in service is empowering for somebody else. That would be my main take on it. And the fact that when we align ourselves to being a support for somebody as a foundation, then they have the opportunity to grow from that. Whereas if you step into helping, there's an element there for me of someone perhaps becoming dependent, or you always needing that support. So I guess it's a case of longevity of autonomy for me.
This brings up for me the need for a complete narrative shift, right, in the world at large about how these so-called helping professions. We've seen that out there. So it's in the category of people like therapists or coaches or anybody who's wanting to help. I'm using this loosely. They're fellow human beings, right? So maybe the shift, we need to rename that. It's not a helping profession. It's support. I'm supporting people, right? So when we put the pressure of I have to help this person, it makes us feel like there's something like Gabby's saying, physically, what I have to be able to do for you, which we all know there's nothing I can do to help to make things feel better for another person. There's nothing that I can do that's going to change another person's situation. So the only thing I can do is be there and witness and acknowledge them. So it's that being in support and service for someone. So shifting the whole narrative and the language around that changes everything for me. It removes the pressure. I don't have to perform. I just have to be a human being willing to open my heart and my ears to someone else. And they're going to tell me what they need. It's not for me to tell you what you need.
And you've absolutely nailed Carl Rogers' 3 core conditions. Unconditional positive regard, personal congruency, and empathy, out of which anybody has all of the resources that they require within themselves to go on and heal whatever situation. And the moment empathy becomes sympathy, or unconditional positive regard becomes expertise in someone else's situation, or our personal congruence becomes more important, our agenda is more important than what's going on for the person, then we're no longer serving or actually helping. We're on some kind of ego trip. And I suppose we could give a little bit of a nod towards skilled helping, where we are aware of those core conditions to help somebody else thrive and flourish. And as you say, changing both the narrative and the language around how we do that for people.
Even in the question of how can I help you is somehow putting that person into a position of feeling like they're out of options. They can't help them. They can't do it on their own, right? It's a much different feel when someone comes up to you and says, how can I support you right now? Is different than how can I help you? You can help me. I'm not asking you to help me. I'm just asking you to be there for me, possibly, and maybe support me in figuring this out for myself. There's a big difference, I think, in the way that we do that. And personally, for me, I have to remind myself, I make it a habit to remind myself of anytime I'm about to sit with someone or coach someone or be in service to someone, I'm here for them. For me. For them, I am not here. This is not about me. It's not about what I can do at all. It's about how I can be for them. So I don't know. That's my take on the difference between serving and helping. Brett, did you want to say something about it?
I think for me, it's really listening to what's being said by the person that's in front of you, and hearing what they're saying is going to tell you what's needed, right? Whether it's questions, reflecting questions back to them because you hear what's needed, and then all of a sudden you hear, oh, wait, they already know what that is. Let me ask this. And then they start coming out with their own stuff, or if it is actually help, right? Because it could possibly be help depending upon the situation and what it is. It might be something physical, but I really think it's a skill to listen, right? And not to jump into answering anything, but yet asking the questions that you hear in the background of their talking for whatever they're expressing. And you'll hear things and then just asking those questions on that. I think if it is physical, they'll let you know.
I was just going to say what you just said made me realize all we need to do as people in service to others, the collective at large, is to trust that whoever I'm speaking to knows what they need. They might not be aware that they know, and that's all I need to know, right? Is just, how can I support you? And maybe someone's going to say, I have no idea. I am going to trust that that's true for them in the moment. And it's not for me to tell them what they need. It's for me to be patient and wait for them to listen to themselves so that they can ask for what they need. I'm not here to tell you what you need for yourself. So I think the key is trusting enough that they know. They just might not be aware that they know. So it's just waiting for them to become aware that they have the answers and for them to tell me what they need.
I think you're really onto something about changing language, and it's not only for the so-called helping professions. If you think about it, it goes everywhere. When you were talking, Brett and you, Erika and Alec, something came up for me. I did quite a few workshops lately with in schools with teenagers, and within the workshops we talked about prejudices and assumptions. So we were talking about what adults think about teenagers, and then I asked them, what do teenagers think about adults? And all of them, not a matter, said one thing. Well, two, but the one is important here. Adults do not listen. And that's what it comes into, because when we talked about it, I said parents, of course, they have the best interest of the kids at their heart, but because they're jumping in, wanting to help with situations, jumping in, the teenagers feel, but nobody actually listens to me what I really need. And it's the difference between finding out what they need and supporting them in that, and straight away jumping in with this helping idea. And you actually take away the possibility for the kids to grow up and finding out who they are, what they need, because there's always nettled there, right? With this helper syndrome. And it actually is backfiring. And maybe that's why, I'm not sure, I don't have data on it, but I have the funny feeling that's maybe why anxiety in teenagers is gone through the roof.
And not only that, it's so you have a teenager who is pretty clean, right? We're pretty clean slate. They're not as jaded as those of us who have grown old, right? We talked about that last episode, but so they're open. They know what they need, and they try to communicate it to people who aren't listening, not because they don't want to hear, but because they want to protect parents, the adults, whatever it is. So you have this teenager who is speaking what they believe they need. They're not being listened to. They're being told otherwise. So now they're stuffing and quieting that inner voice. So they become the adults that are before us. When we ask, what do you need? They're like, I don't know, because my whole life, somebody else has been telling me what I need. So this is the cycle. We need to change.
I'm reminded of the song by a group called EMF, Unbelievable. And the line, you say I don't talk enough, but when I do, I'm a fool. And it's because it's this pecking. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. I need to know this. I need to know that. And then when it doesn't fit with the narrative that that person has created, it's like, oh, you don't know anything. You're an idiot. You're stupid. And that doesn't promote creativity of thinking. It doesn't promote problem solving and you experiential learning. And we close down communication. It doesn't just apply between parents and their children, teachers and children, anywhere where there's a gap, really. It could be two different adults. Ultimately, you close down the communication, you lose the ability to be able to speak into that person's life with any kind of wisdom, if and when that's actually what is required, because it might be appropriate to say through life experience, would it be appropriate if I shared? But actually, the percentage of time that is required in these kind of conversations is really small when we just allow for the person to hear what they're saying and reflect back what they present to us, because they will solve their own issue. I don't even want to call it a problem. Whatever is happening. And it's great for us as a little quartet to sit and know this, but unless we can communicate that out to a wider group of people that this is what is needed in mature conversation and communication, we're going to be really busy.
It's amazing to me that all a human being really needs is for someone to just listen and acknowledge what they're saying. That's all that's required. It's really not a big task. It's just, oh, I hear you. I see you. That must really be difficult. What can I do for you? How can I support you? It's simple. It's 3 questions and they do the rest. And that's all you have to do. And if we all did that a little bit at a time, think about the epic shifts that would happen out there in the world, right? You do it for one person, they learn what that feels like, and they then go home and do it for their kids or for their partner or for whoever. That's all that's required.
Short of being in some kind of shop and having somebody say, how can I help you? Because you want to check out with something, I think it's a question that we should strike from our vocabularies.
Yeah.
You know, how will you help yourself with my support is the message. That's a bit clunky and probably wouldn't work, but letting people know that we are there to support you in your autonomous decision with information that you hold is the key to it all.
When I ask the question, not even to clients, to anybody, like a friend or any family or somebody who's going through something, how can I support you right now? 9 out of 10 times is you're listening. Okay. Oh, is that all I have to do? That's a simple task, but is it simple? That's the next question. In our busied, hurried society, how many people are willing to just stop and listen to another person? Take time out of your life to just listen for the sake of listening. I'm getting no benefit from this.
And that's why I think there's this paradox with what you just said of all that we need is to be seen and heard by another person, another human being. But all too frequently, people don't have the community or the friendship groups or the relationships that allow for them being heard. And that doesn't mean they're in complete isolation on a desert island. It means within the busy world, they are isolated, maybe even with partners. They're not being heard or seen. Gabby mentioned earlier how loneliness can have such an impact on lifespan, but you can be really lonely in a busy place because there's no connection, there's no humanity.
To Gabby's point about the teenagers, my son is not a teenager anymore, but I have, through experience and through seeing what works and what doesn't work, right, as a parent, have come to the point where they'll call, I listen, and I'm training myself to respond in a different way. And my questions are usually, how can I support you? Do you need anything from me to help you? Then I say help, but I'm going to have to be more mindful to that word, right? How can I support you? Do you need anything from me right now? That's it. I might see blaring red flags along the way of things that I'd be like, what the hell are you doing? You got to do it this way, but it's not for me. He's a young man. How can I support you? That's all that I need to know. And then the rest is for me to work on, right? Why do I have this incessant need to think that I know better about his life than he does? So really, we can tap into that demographic of young teenagers on the precipice of adulthood and just hear them and instill in them that they can trust what they know to be true for themselves. The different trajectory of their lives to do that.
And it's true for all age groups. And funny enough, if you think about it, we were talking about growing old in another episode. The same thing is happening when people getting older.
Yep.
Friends of mine are saying now, I'm turning into the child. Now my kids are telling me what I'm supposed to do. Right? So it's the other way around. They don't ask anymore the parents what you need. How can I support you? Oh, well, you should do this now. And you know what I mean? And the same thing, they're not listening. Just saying, oh, you're old now, that's it. And I'm taking over. Even professionals go as an older person to a hospital to talk to you, your toddler. The funniest story lately was my neighbor, she's 82, right? Her pharmacist said, you're 82 now. So instead of giving her medications in the boxes, they decided to give it in blister packs where they literally split it up, right? Because she's old now. So she needs to And they said, oh, it will be easier for you. So she accepted to do it. And then she looked at it, and because she knows all her tablets, she actually realized they'd forgotten to put one really important one in. Right? It was missing. So she had to ring them and said, yeah, so much for helping, but you missed out the tablet, right? So she said, give them in the boxes. I know what I'm doing. I'm not a child. Right?
I love it. We talked about growing old and in this topic here, and the irony is my hope is that I grow old enough to get to the point that my son wants to tell me what to do and I get to not listen to him. Like, I hope that I can get that old. I live for that day where I'll be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Just remember, one day he might be choosing your nursing home.
No joke. We talked about that when we went and got our taxes done. And I was like, just remember this when it's time to choose the right place for me to be. Just remember this. Please, I beg of you. He rolled his eyes. I was like, oh, I'm doomed. Anyway, so do we have closing statements or closing thoughts about this topic here? Anything anybody else would like to say?
For me, it's just treat everyone like they're you, right? Remember what you need, because personally, I don't like to get advice or opinions or help or people not listening to me and jumping in and all that. So I don't like it. Just don't do it to other people and listen.
What she said. For me, it fills my heart to be able to serve this role for people. Honestly, this is the greatest way that I know to give back, is to see and hear and just witness what somebody's going through. If I'm the only person in someone else's life that they have that time to do with me, I'm happy to be that person.
I think unless we're doing something educational or we're reassuring or signposting for someone, the most important thing is that we may have our lived experience and we can authentically talk with some expertise on a whole range of different things, but we are not the expert on that person's life. And assuming that they are aware and they've got a growth mindset and they actually want to grow in the situation, the best thing we can possibly do is just offer them the respect of allowing them to be that authority.
That's conversations I've had, or when the other person is actually listening and I'm listening to them, and then there's something beautiful that happens in that conversation. There's nothing that you can't figure out, because when you're both listening to each other, you hear what's being said, and then it prompts a question, and it just takes it down like a really nice path. Great conversations. I've had some really good conversations when I'm actually doing the listening as well as the other person. So there's a big piece right there in itself. I totally agree with what you were saying earlier, Erika. The listening piece is really a beautiful place in supporting somebody and being there present so that they can hear themselves. You're giving them the space where they can hear their own words, right? And presenting the certain questions is beautiful, because then they start to see. That's the empowerment piece that starts stepping out, and they start stepping into that, wow, I do have the answers. And then there's something beautiful in seeing somebody after a conversation, two conversations, or however many. I know I have this in me, right? But I just want to talk. It's like, I would love to talk with you. And that's it. That's beautiful piece. So
Cool. Well, Alec, how do we wrap this up? Our stuff is in the comments. I don't know. This is not my gig.
Thank you for listening. Please, for the love of all things lovable, leave some comments for Brett. And the contact details are in the information below. And we will see you in the not too distant future for another episode.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.